this stuff. Here's the deal of why I want you to think about that and talk about that in the coffee shop, bars, and church basements. Do you realize the county commissioners and the hospital board bought out these poor, struggling doctors at the Alexandria Clinic? Because why? Another nonprofit was come in, at least that's a smokescreen I got, and I got the email here, but I don't know where I put it. I think we paid full market value, and if I think the administrator who doesn't want to come in, but I got some interesting things from the chief financial officer, but that's back in the lower part of my brain, and I have to suck that out when I'm sitting down, I guess. The Alexandria Clinic, I think we paid $12 million, but don't quote me. Anyway, we paid full appraised value. But why this is significant? People, we also gave those doctors about $700,000 in TIF finance, our tax breaks, tax increment financing. $700,000. The district got, that particular group got paid out in full, so that one's no longer active. And then what they did, they turned around and sold the building to our county hospital at full appraised value. And good, bad, or otherwise, what I'm saying is here, that's why you need a TV station in here. We need to be asking some serious questions about what goes on, and are these things justified? They possibly are to get things started, but then are we looking at the books just like these farmers that are rolling in cash? We're still paying 60% of their crop insurance premium. We're still scheduled now to send them a nice big fat check in 2013, even though they had a booming year in 2012. And then we'll take a look here at the next one. We talked about Zorbas and the power of business in outstate Minnesota and all over the nation. The power of education, the Harvards. We've got the same thing going on, in my opinion, with the high school here, with the technical college, and we just got to rein them in, that they're in the education business. They're not part of the web of business and that type of thing, cutting deals and making sure everybody is on the same page and keeping you, the good people of the area, in the dark. But here's what I'm saying. When we had that, when you go out there to Zorba's and have some pizza or Mexican food or a beverage, right across the street is a bigger place that the same Zorba's own. I sat there and it was the best deal in town, my third world income. After working 3 12-hour shifts, I'd sleep for an hour and then go out and watch Vikings football out there. There was basically me and the owner sitting there for 3 Sundays, and the beer was dirt cheap, the food was great, and nobody was there, and every time they scored they gave you something. It was a heck of a deal. But anyway, I'm talking business here a couple years with the actual owner, at least that's what he told me. And I think I talked to the same guy about trying to get some well, I know I did. Both on the phone when I first heard they were coming to town. Nah, I don't think so. But anyway, he owns this big establishment, Bugaboos. He owned that. But being the city fathers people wouldn't give him 2 o'clock liquor, let the bar stay open till 2 in the morning, he pulled out of the deal. Now he comes back and the old burned out, they called it the whale or something like that, or I can't remember the name. This old burned out structure, and put some money in there, and now the taxpayers, for a guy that bullied, in my view anyway, bullied our city council, but they should have gave it to him. Who cares? Let's spread the drunks out, as they say when they're leaving town, and hopefully they're driving responsibility, and we should do more than just fill the prisons. Let's address the issue. But anyway, if the guy could afford, just a couple of years before, this fancy facility, Frank and Chris from CBS New York affiliate here in Minnesota can say it's just fun and games out here in rural America. Why are we giving them tax dollars? And with that, we'll probably also go into the other slides, the calling Robards slide. Here's the bugaboo, or boomerang now. The new dealership that came in from down the freeway there, talked to the guy in there and tried to tell him, nah, it'd be at least June or July before we could do any advertising. We're just too busy now. I said, well, isn't your busy part? Well, you don't understand the boating business and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, being I bought my cards there, I asked some questions in where you buy sweatshirts, and really nice people. So any of these places you ask a question about this, people, be kind and respectful of all these businesses. We're not trying to be a bully in town. We're trying to see that things run smoothly and everybody gets a piece of the pie. And the fat cats don't just get fatter, whether it's in the state level, local level, state level, national level, or the world level. But anyway, the boomerang store out here is interesting because I asked him, I said, why didn't you just come to town and build here? Well, it's a complicated deal, and there's zoning and all this. So he's forced to go through what? The guy that's been here since 1872. And I think he owns other properties. In fact, I think the paint store, I wanted to go out there. Well, they don't have to advertise either, because the Coling Robards on Main Street, no, we don't advertise. We don't have to. We got the right business model. We're right location, and they're true. That's what's happening. That's why we're getting no people like me to look at what's going on with our schools, our colleges, our businesses, all that kind of thing. Because all of a sudden, advertising is becoming obsolete. And we'll get into that, how these companies, and many of them big Minnesota companies, operate in coercion with these dealers, I think is the best way to call it. But anyway, the boomerang store here is, they're renting from the developer of Coling Robards. I think it's one guy, isn't it? That's what the guys that I deal with told him. One guy owns it. And he's probably an old guy like me and owns some other properties, I was told. But you guys know more about that, and discuss it in the coffee shop and church basement, that kind of thing. But anyway, you got this new nice boat dealership. And what's interesting about that, he's got a right. I said, well, you must have a right to buy this thing back, don't you? Well, yeah, it's a complicated deal, but in a few years I can buy it back. So what? Me, and I disclosed myself as the TV star. I had my Sherlock Holmes cap on. Where'd I got that? Must have it someplace else, you know, that I'm always all of the above. And they know that's why they despise me. And I said, what's the deal here? A guy like you got a big dealership down the freeway here, don't you? You must be a progressive guy. Yeah, you say, you must have money. You got this huge inventory of boats here in town. I drove the last time I went to St. Cloud, or I said I saw all those, you had a heck of an inventory of fish houses and snowmobiles and ATVs and side-by-sides and motorcycles. And, well, he said, in a few years, I got an agreement, I'm going to buy it. So what does that tell me? That the tax increment financing guy, who is probably very well-to-do, he's going to suck this just like the doctors and nurses did, in my opinion, if we would dig into this. Doesn't it make logic? I'm just trying to present some logic process in what goes on in the community, around the state, that when this guy gets his tax increment financing, then he's going to sell it to this successful boat dealer that could have built himself the thing himself, of course, but with zoning and these good old boys controlling all the prime outlets here in this wonderful city of Alexandria, what's the deal? Seems to me, wouldn't they do this about the same thing, the doctors and nurses or whoever owned that clinic? Let's get the tax money break, and then we'll sell it back to this guy. And he was happy because he's got a whale of a business there, knows the business, and every business is tough. But I'm telling you, today, these businesses got things, and they built in the background there a nice shop and everything for them, and I don't know what part of it went in, and how many dollars, I got that, but you're going for the bus tours coming into town. I'm bringing people in to the bus tours. We'll have to let the people down there in Wilmer and Mankato and all come to the tax increment tours. Are all the listeners here? Come in and go to the restaurants and tell them you're in town. Forum TV brought you in to go on a tax increment tours. You can drive by this stuff. I'll try to get it all put together for you. And so you make a judgment about this whole process here, people. Is it justified? Was part of it justified? But we don't have any oversight. We don't subpoena anybody in. We don't audit anybody's books. Once you get it, you got it, so to speak. And then we're going to go to the other business in town, in the same business, in this Peyton Place type environment I find when I start investigating. That's why people hate my guts, of course. The woodsman, the Polaris dealer, this guy, his is up now. He got $75,000 to build that pole building there, a nice building and stuff. He doesn't want to advertise and, as well. No, we don't need to advertise. But here's the interesting thing. We paid $75,000 as a taxpayers, directly or indirectly. It's a complicated system, but you want to talk about creative counting and management of the environment. Tax increment financing is that. But anyway, we the taxpayer now, this guy's paid out in full, just like the doctors were that sold us their fancy clinic building, and $75,000 there, and yet he's a Polaris dealer. But what is the boomerang guy? He's also the Polaris dealer, but he can't sell Polaris here in town. So I'm saying if we, the people of Alexandria Lakes area, paid for a chunk of this building or the dirt work or the land, and there's so many scams and schemes in this whole process called TIF, why don't we call up, is it Ivan Jacobson and Polaris Industries up there in Rosor, or the Twin Cities? That's why I'm trying to get these newspapers to look at this. And why don't we, being the center of outstate, beautiful golf courses, beautiful lakes, beautiful people like you, hardworking citizens that know the service industry, all these great restaurants, none of them hardly, other than Belinda out there at Weston Station and Charlie, they don't want to advertise with me. And come to this great area out here, Alexandria. I love it more than you guys love it, but I think it needs a watchdog. But anyway, why don't we let that Polaris dealer from Melrose or Freeport, wherever he is down there, let him sell Polaris here in town. Let's make this guy the Arctic Cat dealer. We got Ollie there that got the Skidoo. Then we'd have this guy out here that we paid for $75,000 worth of his building out there, and let that new guy in town that couldn't build his own facility the way he wanted, or maybe where he wanted it. He had to get into the good old boy scam here in town of the web of Peyton Place, Alexandria, and let's make this the Arctic Cat dealer. That'll even give more reason for people to come to this beautiful area we call home here in Alexandria. But then we're going to see what I got else here on there. Oh, now we're getting into our county commissioner, who gets $65,000 back per year on his taxes. But he's also a partner in with these guys. And I actually met one of his partners when I was trying to unsuccessfully sell him some advertising so I could keep my head above water here. And I like Charlie. Well, I'm going to still try to sell him some advertising. It might be a little touchy after this, but I think he's a big enough man that he'll get over it fairly quick and that kind of thing. But anyway, you bowlers out there will tease him a little bit or ask him a few kind questions, Charlie, or maybe throw him $5 if he's not making. Maybe he's as tough shape as I am. I don't know. But anyway, what I'm getting at here is the Hampton Inn. They get his partner. He may be a small partner, kind of the spin I got from him, but he wanted that next to his ballroom. It's a smart plan. People, the TIF deal of getting that there makes a lot of sense, but was it required? And should it still be going? That's what I'm bringing up. I'm not against Charlie. I'm glad you got a place to bowl. I'm glad we got a ballroom in town to bring some convention businesses in. I'm glad we got lots of choices to eat, to buy things here in town. But this building gets another $58,000 per year. And the interesting thing, there's only 80 rooms. I thought it was bigger than that, but 80 rooms. So if you divide 58,000 per year, they get about $725 per room in tax breaks each year for this period. Either it's 8 years or 13 years. Yet they put it down that it could be up to 20. I mean, that's just how the taxing should have an independent auditor come in. Look at this thing is what I'm saying. But anyway, then in this whole process, when I dig into things, there's $250,000 per year in hotel lodging taxes. So, and we're using that to what? Advertise the community. Why don't we take the baseball deal, build it, and they will come? But we spend a tax on these people, or double the tax. They'll still come. They want to be here. So we'd have $250,000 if we have to help Charlie for a while, or we have to help that boomerang dollar, or those poor doctors in the clinics in town here, you know, that are hardly getting by, and the drugstores and all that kind of stuff. There's just, oh, it's an interesting deal. But you guys got to keep me on air, you know. I can't show you this kind of stuff that I think is valid to maybe have, but must always be reviewed. Just like, how could we spend so much money on ethanol, but at the same time this week of why you want those guys to speak, especially you farmers out there that like to cuss me. You know what? Our same 10 congressional delegation from Minnesota allowed to happen? European that are paying, Europe that are paying twice the price of gas, all kinds of taxes to fund their bureaucracy. They put on a 5-year import levy on U.S. ethanol. It's cheaper than 85 octane gasoline, and now our congressional delegation, with no supervision by the minority House and Senate Republicans here that are afraid to subpoena them, how could we let an industry that's important for Minnesota, these socialists in Europe, put a tax to block? If we get a big corn crop, we need to get rid of this stuff, is what I'm saying. And now we can't, because our congressional delegation lets Europe get by with 26 cents a gallon import tax on top of what their normal whatever are. And anyway, I want to show you the other thing. See, it was built as a separate project. Here's Charlie and his family, good people, don't get me wrong, they're not crooked. This is all done legally. Somebody's rich lawyer at night passed this law, that ever. But see, shouldn't we now at least have a walkway through there to get the place? Why do the guests always have to go out in cold? Maybe some of that, we're going to keep paying Charlie this money. The last deal of these two deals, the last money we send up, we're going to be truly hospitable to these guests that come to our town. Shouldn't we have a tunnel, or at least a passageway for the winter they get across there? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about here. But remember, kind and respectful to anybody when you talk to them on what you hear on Informed TV, because we're not a 10,000-pound gorilla. We're just a person of real substance that wants you good people that just want to raise your family, you want a roof over your head, you want a job that pays you a meaningful wage, and live a decent life, and be able to fish and hunt and golf in the area just like the fat cats do. And anyway, I got one more deal. You know, in reality, it's kind of tied together here. I got the photo, and of course the bus tour, or when you come to town to travel, because we're trying to put a route up for you. It's an interesting deal. We'll flick a few more pictures here and then maybe call it a day, but I got too many buttons open here. Hold on. Here's another one of a small business, and you guys, this Cabinets by Carter. That one's done as well, and just like I thought I left the total on that one, in I think another pile of papers that they threw at me. Maybe it's here, maybe it's here, maybe it's here. Here's some of the ones that you can talk about with your friends. The Alex Clinic, part of their TIF, they got $595,000. They got another on their clinic stuff, another $92,000. Now, whether that was a Osakis clinic, I don't think so. But here's Douglas Machine. You know, what does it say? Like the third biggest employer. We gave them, they just ended one of them, and they're still getting some money for $328,000. A KD Development, $150,000. An LD Development for $111,000. Sunrise Apartment just got finished up, getting $82,000. Woodsman Distributing, Rural Cellular, which must be that big vacant building out there Verizon had out there by the Covenant Church, isn't it? They got $531,000 in this tax increment stuff. At least is my understanding. I think that's what it is. But anyway, some bit, whatever, Rural Cellular, you guys know the town and area better than I do. But I'm learning, as they say. They got $531,000. I think that's what Jason over there told me was the deal there, and I told you they won't come in and talk on camera. They want to talk on their terms, but in reality they don't want to talk at all, of course. And then we'll flip back to the clinic. There was something else I was going to tell you on the clinic. Must have forgot. Anyway, here's the school. I drove out there. If you haven't been out there, it's coming up. Remember, I tried to go out there in the dirt work, and the contractor wanted me, but the Quest Dynasty, the superintendent says, no, you got to come in and be part of the team before you set foot on anything, before you talk to the architect. But anyway, they're along quite a ways in. Couldn't they have used that $2 million right now? And weren't you understand like me, when they sold the school, as soon as the bonding deal passed, and the costs were starting to go, boom, the guy that bought the school would have ponied up his $2 million. He's just got $100,000 in it. And there's something else in the school that I thought was interesting. It escapes me for a second here. Maybe when I look at some of these pictures. Then right across the school is that the Grand Arbor. That's got some money in it, the way I understand. And it's so big I couldn't get a decent picture of it. I think it's a total restaurant and everything involved. All the old timers want to live there, I guess. And but they're getting some money, or Knut Nelson, in some of this stuff when I look through. Then we got the one that Virgil was least upset with on City Council, Stone Manor. This is right behind that other big complex out there by Lake Bergen, and they got their divvies in it. If I remember right, if I got that one here or not, they're going to get about $120,000 a year back if I got the right column. It's big money, whatever it is. Don't quote me on it, but it's big money. There's a lot of these guys that have got big money from some of these deals, and to my way of thinking, if you know anything about economics, most of them with this dirt cheap money today, and banks just drowning in cash, especially these rural banks with all the money our farmers have been putting in them, I don't think need any help from the government. But then here's another big apartment complex. I got so many names and numbers in my head. You can drive by that one. That's getting a bunch of money. Then they're behind that to the north, this big apartment complex. And one night, either talked to somebody or overheard some guys talking when I was sitting at the bar, and how some of these developments in town, guy, you got to get into this development stuff with us. And the guy said, I don't want to be in no darn apartment building. He said, well, we're getting, I can't remember what they said, we're getting 12 to 17% return on our money in Bremer Bank. They're going to give you maybe 1%. And the guy goes, what? How could you get 17% return on a cockeyed apartment building? Well, you just got to join our group, this guy was saying. And he says, besides that, once you get them done, we got people fighting to buy them off our hands once we get them built. So, and obviously, whether this is just the developer blowing smoke, but I don't think all these things are popping up because they're making 1% return on their dollar like you people are making, or lousy returns or high risk returns in your 401k. Everything goes to heck in handbasket. If they got that thing paid for, they're going to be like the merchants of grain, the Cargills, the ADMs, the Zenos, the Dreyfuses, that they don't care what currency is going on. They don't care what's happening in the world. Their goal historically, the original globalists, the Sonys, and all these big outfits, is they could care less as long as the United States keeps the commerce lanes open and the wacko Muslims under control, and the currency. They want everything paid for, productive assets like some of the things we've been showing you here, paid for, and they'll determine what currency they want to buy them in, sell them in, take the income in, and that's basically what's happening in outstate Minnesota now. We're kind of getting in those kind of realms, and once again, why we should be putting pressure on our elected officials here to say, what's going on here, people? This sequester that we talked about. Oh, then as we're winding down in time or up in time, who knows? I've already went way beyond what I thought, and hopefully things are working here the way they're supposed to be. You say, well, why can't I get in something like that? The funny part, when I dug enough, you could have. In fact, one of my fishing buddies here in town is in that. There was a period here when you guys were buying them old, overpriced old junk homes because of tax increment financing. Some of the low-income people in town, my buddy, he makes a decent living, but average, but he works a ton of overtime and that kind of thing. Doesn't have any kids. He should have some kids. I told him that. But anyway, bought a brand new house a few years ago. Cheaper than most of you probably are buying these old pile of junk from these highfalutin realtors that were saying the price of houses can't go down, that it's the time to buy, the interest rates is buy. You could have got into this scam, people, and I call it a scam with kind of a little theatrical behind it, but the reality is there was an opportunity, not just for the fat cats in town. You could have got in this development of these new houses. You could be living in a new house just like my buddy's living in, and at a reduced rate in taxes. And they do that in the accounting deal where it goes to the developer, he bought the property at a lower rate, or this, that, or the other thing in there. It gets a little, I understand, but it's too complicated to, it's not complicated, it's too corrupt, I would say, to explain it to the common person. But anyway, next time you go out, need some gas, stop at Jerry's Bar and Grill right across the Alex Extrusion, and some of the stuff right across there, those guys are Extrusion, they got a big check and still getting some stuff. And I've been told that's a really successful business as well, but they got their hand in the cookie jar. But Jerry's the bar, the conservative bar, you play volleyball there, wonderful hamburger. I haven't ate there for a while. It's really nice, husband and wife there. I think the wife Jerry does most of it. Stop at Jerry's and get a hamburger and a beer, or a cup of coffee, whatever. And she doesn't advertise with her. I haven't approached her. I probably should. But stop there. They seem like real nice people. Right across the street is Extrusion. You can see some money there. You can see the big tanks that we got fuel coming in that's costing you $3.70, but the farmers are bringing ethanol in at $2.44 a gallon, and you're still paying $3.70 to $3.80 for gas. Jerry's is there, and then or you can go to the Casey stores out there and fill up with gas and buy a pizza or whatever. Tell the Casey store there that you heard this on Inform TV, and you look straight west from the Casey store. That's where all these new houses are. And that's where some common citizens tap this gravy train, that I call it anyway. And I thought I had one more picture of that, but I might have pushed the wrong button finally. But anyway, we'll just flash what is kind of behind the scenes, both in the educational level where they don't want to press looking in their underwear drawer. And this guy collects cars too. It's a real nice building out there by the railroad tracks, right across from one of them big apartment buildings. So I'm telling you people, if you just get me some money here so I can maybe get somebody to organize it, or maybe I can call over City Hall and see if they can organize it for us. I think we can get bus tours in to see how we take care of what I consider very fortunate, very capable people, some really significant tax breaks, some real significant opportunities to expand their financial horizon, and they're already light years ahead of you people that watch Inform TV, and yet there seems to be no oversight. Let's kind of make it complicated, and this is the apartment building that Cabinets by Carter is right across from. But we're living in a world, people, where we need to make some real questions of our elected officials. And we need to see that old Inform TV stays in business, goes to the next level, gets on these cable outlets, get me on a few more towers, that I have my own license and I don't have to worry about a board saying, oh, he upset my brother-in-law, or he upset my church that is a church, and even though they did some things they shouldn't do, you can't talk about a church, or you can't talk about the boosters of the Cardinal Athletic Club, or you can't film people, young people behind the bleachers smoking pot at the football game, and you can't make any money, you can't advertise, you can't promote your business, and you can't come in and see what's going on with tax deductible dollars in relationship to tax collected dollars. And to say to the public here that there was no public tax dollars used in, there was, people. They're indirect, only I believe are way, way, way better than letting Uncle Sam or Governor Dayton tax us. And I hope you keep me on the tower out there, because what I'm doing here today is saying these are people that are doing things that I think are too advantageous to them. And if we're going to do economic development, we have to see that the people sitting on a bunch of cash do it anyway. That if a business wants to come to Alexandria, we have that opportunity. And some of this, one of the most corrupt things, I think, if you keep me on air so I can do more digging in the area, is zoning. Not just in the Alexandria Lakes area, but all across the state. Some of this zoning and how they're handling taxes there is, you talk about a real stinker. It's a real stinker on some of these things that I've been looking at. And you good people are trying to figure out, how come we're barely getting by? We're stressed out. We work way more hours. We go into some of these businesses and it's all employees in there that do a great job, work like heck, but if you want to ask the boss something, he's only there 2 days a week, and there's a reason they're 2 days a week. They're making so cockhead much money, and I always get this from these guys, well, I don't watch you on television. People, they're busy with their business, of course, and they got tons of money. So they don't sit at home like you. They don't have an option of going to work, going to Walmart. Oh, that's the other thing. You want to keep Informed TV on, you common people. Why don't you go in and ask for the manager of the local Walmart here, the local Target store, the local, Office Max in town. What's the deal? Why do you, the Fleet Farm, the Menards, those type of big businesses, why aren't you and all these businesses got something, either a special street cut or something special zone for it? Why don't you see that your city council, your county commissioners say, hey, we've got a TV station in town, and if you're sitting here, we want Walmart looked at, some of the what's going on there. We want some of the dealerships that are in town here looked at, and what the wages are and what the benefits are, and that includes a small. I'm saying we all deserve a piece of the pie, and that's what Informed TV is all about. Let them cuss me all they want, let them hate me all they want. But I want you common people to know, Informed TV, if I can click her back up here, is here not to be run out of town by the fat cats, but Informed TV here is to see that common people know what's going on, that common people can hold their elected officials, whether they're in city government, county government, state government, federal government, accountable. And these con artists with their marketing degrees and their political science majors don't continue to run us into bankruptcy and without addressing some simple numbers and address the mess. Tax these fat cats, because the 17 billion, I showed you the example, and I hope you'll look at it. I'll try to post that on a website as well, of showing you what's going on a federal level, on a state level. And the other thing I want you to know, I sent a email to a couple of them, to all the county, or not the county, all the city council members here. And what's the position? What's your position? I just want to know your position. So shouldn't I be lobbying? And when they had their first hearing, I went to when they were going to vote, and I raised my hand, and I shake my hand, the mayor looks right at me, and she didn't say, shouldn't we be talking about the business that this is affecting, this charter agreement? And so when they wouldn't do that, all I could do, and I made a comment, the one meeting, didn't go to the next one, there's no point of it. But I did send them an email, what's your position, you five that have a vote? They wouldn't respond. You know what Virgil finally did? I ran Virgil down, flagged him down, and pulled his pickup over, and he got in and talked to me, and he said, well, the mayor and the city administrator and the county attorney, or not the county attorney, the city attorney, that's part of one of the law firms here in town, my understanding, said, do not respond to this guy. And Virgil's supposed to be a populist. He said he was going to tell me about some of the stuff, of all the conflict of interest in City Hall here in Alexandria. And all of a sudden, somebody must have got to Virgil. Virgil must have needed some government permit like you or the businesses in town always need. Because I ain't heard boo from old Virgil, the populist, anymore. And so all I can assume is they must have got to him too. He must have got a discount, or must have... I'm just saying, there's something really fishy, rotten in City Hall here. I know a bunch, but I want to know a little more before I explain it to you. And but I want you to ask old Virgil some questions. Why don't you come in and sit down? Why don't the rest of you county commissioners sit down? My observations and my dealing, when I ask them, I get a letter from the city attorney. And I'm telling you, this City Hall attorney relationship and some of our employees, you want to talk about a nose holder, people. Wow. It's incredible. And I'm not going to leave it alone, but you got to keep going to Informed TV. You got a website, and pass some of this stuff down, the fun, the good, the fair, the funny, the entertainment, and you got to let me stay on that tower, and you got to get me on Charter, or you got to get me on Gardenville, you got to get me on Arvig, you got to get my signal pushed out there, because we're trying to say, look at this, people, look at this, people, look at this, people. If you're comfortable with it, fine and dandy, but I want you to be aware of what's going on in your neighborhood. And I'm telling you, there is some rotten, fishy things going on. There's a web of people involved. There's things going on that the FBI should be looking at, the IRS should be looking at, and it looks like that's the only help I can find in this community. And I'm not afraid to throw the poison pill, the stink bomb in City Hall, as they say, and fester these skunks out of some of their holdings. And even though they walk around town like they're lily white and long angels and that kind of thing. But anyway, thanks for listening to Informed TV. I'm Alan Repke, Alexandria, Minnesota.